They say love is enough. I don't think that's true. If love alone could save us, half of the people in this world wouldn't be sleeping next to someone and still feeling alone. I spent my life believing love would fix everything, and maybe that was my biggest mistake. Lying here now, with machines whispering beside me, I understand love doesn't fix life. It simply teaches you how to live with what's broken. The nurses think I am asleep most of the time, but I am not. I hear the soft beeping, the sound of their shoes, the quiet voices in the hallway. You start noticing small things when your world becomes a single hospital room. The light that comes through the window changes color every few hours, and every time it shifts, I remember another piece of my life. Faces, moments, words I said too fast or too late. And what I remember the most is her. The way she laughed, even when I was angry. The way she held my hand when I didn't deserve it. You know, love isn't found in the big things. It's hidden in the way someone stays when you give them every reason to leave. People talk about love like it's easy, like you fall into it and it carries you forever. But love doesn't carry you, my friend. It walks beside you. Sometimes it limps, sometimes it crawls, sometimes it gets tired and wants to stop. What matters is if you still keep walking with it. I have had my share of mistakes, times when I let silence grow too long, when my pride spoke louder than my heart, and now I see how fragile it all is. One day you're arguing about small things, and the next you're here, wishing for just one more argument, one more morning together. If there's one thing I want you to understand tonight, it's this. Love is not perfect. It never was. It's work, it's patience, it's forgiveness. It's waking up every day and choosing the same person even when your heart feels tired. And maybe, just maybe, if you do that long enough, love will become something stronger than both of you. Because when the days end, and they will, it's not the wins or the failures that return to you. It's the moments when you loved, and the moments when you could have loved better. You know, when I close my eyes now, I don't see the hospital walls anymore. I see the small street where we first met. The air smelled of rain that day, and she was carrying a book pressed to her chest. I don't even remember what book it was, but I remember her smile like it happened a minute ago. It's strange how memory works. You forget years, but one small second stays forever. Back then, I thought love was about feeling something strong, something that makes your heart beat faster. I believed if it wasn't wild, it wasn't real. But the truth is, love is quiet most of the time. It grows in silence, like a plant finding light in a dark room. You don't notice it growing until one day it's everywhere inside you. When you're young, you chase love like it's a prize. You want it to look perfect, sound perfect, and make sense to everyone. But love never follows sense. It shows up when it wants to, and sometimes in people you never expected. I learned that the hard way. I almost walked away from her once because I thought we were too different. I told myself I needed space, freedom, time. What I really needed was patience. I think that's what most people don't understand.
Love isn't about being the same. It's about learning to stay kind when you don't agree. It's about choosing peace instead of proving a point. The world will tell you to find someone who completes you, but no one really does. You complete yourself, and then you share that with someone who's trying to do the same. She used to tell me that love is like the sea, some days calm, some days storm. You can't expect still water all the time, but if you learn how to float, you won't drown. I didn't understand her words back then. I thought love should always feel good, but it doesn't. Sometimes it hurts, sometimes it tests you, and sometimes it breaks you just enough to make you softer. Now when I think about her, I don't remember the good days more than the bad ones. I remember how both were part of the same story. I remember the mornings we didn't speak, and how even in silence we were still together. Love is not about avoiding pain. It's about not letting pain erase what you have. If I could go back, I would tell my younger self to stop searching for the perfect love story. There is no perfect story. There's only the one you build, slowly, with hands that sometimes tremble, but never let go. And maybe that's what love really means. Not fire or forever promises, just two people choosing, again and again, to stay when leaving would be easier. That's the kind of love that stays in your chest when everything else fades. You see, love doesn't always stay gentle. Sometimes it shakes you. Sometimes it makes you feel like you're standing in front of a storm with no shelter. There were days when we shouted, when we said things that cut deeper than we meant. I used to think that fighting meant we were failing, that every argument was a sign of something breaking. But I was wrong. The truth is, every love story has its cracks. What matters is what you do with them.
She and I, we had many storms. Some small, some loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I would walk out, slam the door, and sit in the car just to calm my breath. Sometimes she cried quietly in the kitchen, waiting for me to come back. I didn't always go back quickly. Pride has a way of keeping your feet heavy when your heart wants to run. And I wish I had learned sooner that no one wins when you both stay silent. You see, anger fades faster than regret. I know that now. I lost hours, maybe days, holding on to anger that meant nothing later. If I could trade all those angry moments for one more quiet evening with her, I would. I would choose her laughter over every argument. But that's the thing. You never know how much time you have. We waste so much of it proving we're right. We forget that being right never feels as good as being loved. I wish I had learned to say I'm sorry faster. I wish I had learned that listening is not losing. That sometimes the strongest thing you can do in a fight is hold their hand instead of holding your ground. She was better at that than me. She had this calmness about her. Like even when everything was falling apart, she could still see the bigger picture. She used to say, "One day we'll laugh about this." And somehow we always did. Even the worst fights turned into stories we told years later. That's the strange beauty of love. Time turns pain into memory, and memory into something almost tender. I remember one night, after a long argument, she came to sit beside me. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Then she just said, "I don't want to win, I just want us." That sentence stayed with me. Even now, as I lie here, those words mean more than any apology or promise I ever made. I just want us. That's love. Not about being right, not about control, but about wanting to stay together, even when everything feels hard. People often think strong relationships are about passion or excitement. Nah. Strength in love is about endurance. It's about choosing peace after chaos, coming back after every fall. It's about holding the same hand that hurts you because you remember how it once healed you too. I learned that silence can be dangerous, but it can also be healing if you use it right. Sometimes you just need to sit beside each other and breathe until the noise inside both of you softens. You don't always need words. You just need to stay. So if you're listening to me and you're fighting with the one you love, take it from someone who's running out of time. Don't wait for tomorrow to make it right. Tomorrow might not come. Say the words now. Hold them now. Because one day you'll wish for these same arguments just to hear their voice again. After a while, I learned that love isn't about the moments when everything feels right. It's about the moments when everything feels wrong and you still choose to stay. Anyone can love when it's easy, but it takes strength to love when it hurts. Staying is not weakness, it's courage, the quiet kind that no one claps for. There were times when I wanted to walk away, times when I thought we were too different, that maybe we had reached the end. But love doesn't really end. It just waits. It waits for you to grow up, to see things clearly, to remember why you began. I realized that every time I felt like leaving, what I really wanted was for things to feel safe again. And safety comes not from running, but from rebuilding. She once told me that love is not a fire you keep alive by burning brighter every day. It's a small flame that you protect from the wind. Sometimes you just cup your hands around it and wait until it grows again. I didn't understand that then. I thought passion meant shouting, proving, fighting for attention. But staying quietly by someone's side is its own kind of passion, the kind that doesn't need an audience. There were long days when we barely spoke, work, routine, exhaustion, the kind of silence that can feel heavy. But I learned that being together in silence is still being together. You don't have to fill every space with words. Sometimes the sound of another heartbeat near you is enough. That's what staying means. It's not dramatic. It's not perfect. It's presence. People often think love fades as you grow older. Maybe the excitement fades, yes, but what replaces it is deeper. It's not butterflies anymore. It's peace. It's knowing someone's habits, their flaws, their fears, and still choosing to stay close. Love matures just like people do, and when it matures, it stops asking for more and starts being thankful for what is. There was a night many years ago when I watched her sleep after a long argument. Her hair was messy, her eyes still puffy from crying, and yet I felt something shift in me. I realized that even when I was angry, even when I felt lost, I couldn't imagine my life without her in it. That night, I decided that love wasn't about feeling good all the time. It was about knowing that no matter what, she was my home. You don't really understand commitment until you live through the days that test it, until you wake up and feel distant but still make coffee for two, until you have every reason to give up but you don't. That's the art of staying. You stop chasing perfect days and you start building ordinary ones together.
Over time, we built a life full of little things. Notes on the fridge, laughter over bad meals, long walks without words. None of it looked special from the outside, but it was everything. That's what people miss when they give up too soon. They think love is supposed to always feel new, but the real beauty is in growing old with someone and still finding comfort in their presence. I wish more people understood that staying doesn't mean settling. It means seeing the real person and still choosing them. It means understanding that no one will ever be exactly what you imagine, but sometimes there'll be something even better, something real. As I lie here now, I think of how many times she stayed when I didn't deserve it, when I was cold or distracted or lost in my own pride. She stayed. And maybe that's why, even now, when she's not here, I still feel her. That's what true love leaves behind. Not just memories, but presence that lingers long after the person is gone. If you ever find someone who stays, even when you make it hard for them, don't take it lightly. Stay with them too. Because in the end, love is not about finding the right person. It's about becoming the person who never stops choosing. There comes a time when staying is no longer about choice, but about faith. Faith that what you built together still matters, even when it feels like it is falling apart. I used to think love would protect us from everything, but it doesn't. Life still finds a way to test you. Illness, distance, loss, all of it comes sooner or later, and no one is ever ready. There was a year when she and I drifted apart, not because we stopped loving each other, but because we forgot how to show it. The house felt cold even when the lights were on. We were two people living beside each other, not really together. I remember one night she looked at me and said, "Do you still love me, or are we just remembering how it used to feel?" I had no answer then. I thought love would survive on its own, but love starves without care. You have to feed it with kindness, with patience, with small things that say, "I still see you." We found our way back, slowly. One morning she made me coffee after weeks of silence. She didn't say anything, just placed the cup beside me. That small act felt bigger than any apology. That's how love heals, not through big speeches, but through small gestures that whisper, "I'm still here." Forgiveness became the hardest lesson of my life. I held on to grudges for too long. I thought being right meant being strong. But all it did was build walls between us. You don't realize how heavy pride is until you try to carry it alone. The moment I learned to say, "I'm sorry," without waiting for her to say it first, everything began to change. Forgiveness doesn't erase pain, it just gives it a place to rest. There were things she forgave me for that I never said aloud. The late nights, the forgotten promises, the way I sometimes looked at life like she was just a part of it, not the center. Yet she forgave me anyway. She once told me that forgiveness isn't for the other person, it's for your own heart. She said holding anger is like drinking poison and waiting for someone else to die. I laughed then,
But now I understand how right she was. And then came the day I had to learn the hardest form of letting go. When her health started to fade, I tried to hold her tighter, as if that could stop time. But love cannot stop what is meant to end. I remember the night she left. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes the world feel hollow. I sat beside her and held her hand long after her fingers had grown cold. And in that silence, I understood something I had missed all my life. Love never really leaves. It changes shape. It moves from the body to the memory, from touch to heartbeat, from words to silence. Now, when I think of forgiveness, I think of her. I forgive her for leaving, and I forgive myself for not saying enough when I could. Because forgiveness is what lets love live even after goodbye. After she was gone, I began to understand that love is much bigger than the story of two people. For a long time, I thought love only belonged to those who shared a home, a bed, a lifetime of mornings and nights. But when the house became quiet and there was no one left to make coffee for, I started to see love everywhere. It was in the way the nurse tucked the blanket around me without saying a word. It was in the sound of my son's voice when he tried to hide his worry. It was in the sunlight that still visited my window every morning, even when I didn't feel like waking up. That is when I realized that love is not something you lose when a person leaves. It's something they plant inside you. It keeps growing, changing, taking new shapes. You see it in strangers, in children, in the kindness of people who expect nothing back. It's in the world itself, if you slow down enough to notice.
Love beyond romance is the quiet kind. It doesn't shout. It doesn't promise forever. It just gives. It asks for nothing. Maybe that's the purest form of it. The way a parent loves a child. The way a friend sits beside you in silence when you're broken. The way you feed a stray animal or forgive someone who will never say sorry. These moments might seem small, but they are the threads that hold the world together. When you spend a lifetime with one person, you start to believe that your heart belongs to them alone. But hearts are strange. They can hold more than you think. Even after she left, I kept finding pieces of her in others, in my daughter's smile, in the way a stranger's laugh reminded me of her, in the way I still say her name in my prayers. Love changes, but it doesn't die. Sometimes I think that's the purpose of living, to keep passing love forward. The love she gave me still moves through me, even now. Every time I speak kindly to someone, every time I forgive, every time I notice beauty instead of pain, that's her love still living. Maybe that's what heaven really means, not a place we go to, but the love we leave behind that keeps others warm when we're gone. You know, I used to be afraid of losing people. I thought the worst pain was to say goodbye. But now I see that losing someone only hurts because love was real. The pain is proof that it existed, that it mattered. And if something mattered that much, how can it ever really be lost? So, if you're listening, and you still have someone you love, don't hold it back. Say it. Show it. Even in small ways. Make tea for them. Write a note. Sit beside them without your phone. Tell them
They matter. Love doesn't have to be grand to be real. It just has to be honest. And if you've already lost someone, know this: they're not gone completely. They live in the way you laugh, in the way you care, in the quiet moments when you feel warmth for no reason. That's them. That's love refusing to die. Now, when I close my eyes, I don't feel lonely. I feel surrounded by every love I've known, every person who has touched my heart, every memory that still breathes somewhere inside me. That's what love beyond romance really is. It's the light that never goes out, even when the room grows dark. As I lie here, I think about how much of life I spent chasing things that never really mattered. I used to believe that happiness came from success, from owning things, from being admired. But when you reach this point, when the machines hum beside you and time feels thin, you start to see life differently. You realize that the things you thought were important were only distractions. What stays in your heart are not the trophies, the houses, or the money. What stays are moments, small, ordinary moments filled with love. I remember a day long ago when it rained and our roof leaked. We had buckets placed all over the living room. And instead of being angry, she started laughing. She danced around those buckets while I watched her, shaking my head. I didn't join her that day. I just stood there, thinking how silly she looked. But now that memory feels like one of the most beautiful moments of my life. I would give anything to go back and dance with her in that leaking room. Life isn't about waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about finding joy, even when things fall apart. I think people waste too much time waiting. Waiting for the right moment, the right person, the right opportunity. But there is no right time to live. The right time is always now. You can plan, you can hope, but in the end, life happens while you're busy thinking about it. If you keep waiting for things to get easier, you'll miss all the beautiful mess that makes life worth it. I also learned that people are more fragile than they appear. Everyone you meet is carrying something heavy. So be gentle, be kind, even when you don't have to be. The words you say today can either heal someone or hurt them in ways you'll never see. I said harsh words to people I loved, thinking I could fix it later. But later doesn't always come. Say sorry sooner. Say thank you more often. Tell people they matter before life reminds you how short it really is. You see, life doesn't owe us anything. It gives and it takes without warning. But even in its unfairness, it gives us something beautiful. The chance to love, to forgive, to change, to begin again. That's the real meaning of it all. Not to collect things, but to collect moments. Not to be remembered by everyone, but to be remembered by someone who felt your kindness. If you live your days with love, then even when your time ends, you don't really die. You stay alive in the laughter you caused, in the people you touched, in the love you gave. Life is not about how long you breathe, but how deeply you make others feel alive while you're here. Now I understand that the best way to live is simply kindly and truthfully. Love fully. Forgive quickly. And never take a single sunrise for granted. Because one day you'll watch the light come through your window for the last time, and you'll realize that every single one before it was a gift.
If these are my last days, then I want my last words to mean something. Not to sound wise, but to be true. I've spent many nights here, listening to the quiet, thinking about everything I've done and everything I never said. The nurses come and go, the lights dim, and sometimes I forget what time it is. But one thought keeps returning to me. It's that love is the only thing that makes life worth living. Everything else fades. Faces change, bodies weaken, memories blur, but the feeling of love never leaves. It becomes the air around you. It becomes who you are. If you're listening to this, I want you to know something. Don't waste your life being afraid to love. Don't hold back because you fear getting hurt. The pain is worth it. Every tear, every argument, every heartbreak teaches you something about what it means to be alive. People say they want a life without pain, but that would also be a life without love. You can't have one without the other. So don't hide your heart. Let it break if it must. It will heal stronger each time. Love with honesty. Tell people what they mean to you. Don't wait for special occasions. Don't assume they already know. The truth is, no one ever gets tired of being told they are loved. Say it often. Say it even when you're angry, especially then, because you never know which moment will be your last chance. And forgive. Forgive the people who hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Holding on to anger only ties you to the past. Let it go, and you'll feel lighter. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without pain. It means choosing peace over pride. Be kind to those around you. You don't know their battles. A single kind word can change someone's whole day. A smile can save someone you didn't even know was hurting. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more compassion. And when life feels heavy, when it feels like you can't keep going, remember that everything passes. The pain, the confusion, the fear, it all fades in time. Hold on a little longer. Tomorrow always has something new to offer. Even the darkest nights end in light. I used to think that dying meant losing everything, but now I think it means becoming part of everything. The love I gave, the love I received, it's still here, moving through people, through moments, through memories. I'm not really leaving, I'm just changing form. If I could give you one last piece of advice, it would be this. Live so that when your time comes, you have no words left unsaid. Hug people longer. Laugh louder. Cry when you need to. Be brave enough to care deeply. That's what makes this short life beautiful. And when you find love, real love, hold it gently. It will not always be perfect, but it will always be worth it. Don't walk away too soon. Don't let silence win.
Choose to stay again and again until staying becomes your greatest strength. Now, as I feel sleep coming, I am not afraid. I feel her here, somewhere in the quiet, smiling the way she used to. Maybe she's been waiting all along. Maybe love never leaves. It just waits for us to come home. And I think, finally, I'm ready. Ready to rest. Ready to go back to where love first began. The room feels quiet now. The machine still hums softly like a lullaby that doesn't end. I can feel my heartbeat slowing, steady and calm, like it knows something I don't need to fear. I think of all the years, all the faces, all the moments that built the story of my life, and more than anything, I think of her, the laughter, the mistakes, the small things that became everything. If anyone hears my voice after I'm gone, I want them to remember this. Life is not about how much time you get. It's about what you do with the time you have. Don't waste it chasing things that don't love you back. Don't wait for tomorrow to start living. Tomorrow is never promised. Love now, forgive now, live now. And when the people you love are near you, look at them, really look, because one day you'll search for their faces in your memory and wish for one more moment. So make this one count. I think I'm ready now. Not because I've done everything, but because I've loved enough to feel full. Maybe that's all any of us can hope for, to love deeply, to be loved in return, and to leave behind a little light for others to follow.